The Bears suck. Princeton football in the late 90s, very popular topic, and my son is tall. It's the best pod appearance I've had in 2024.
You're tuned in to the Ross Tucker Football Podcast, guiding your gridiron journey, none other than your host, former NFL lineman, Ross Tucker.
Oh, yeah, it is. But it's not just any Ross Tucker Football Podcast. It is a Finish Strong Friday, presented, of course, by DraftKings. I'll get into the other stuff, the Winners Friday, the Picks Friday, although we already did picks earlier in the week. I'll do all that stuff later. I do not want to make the guest du jour wait at all, especially when he's got his own show coming up momentarily on national TV, on NFL Network, which where I will be tomorrow, by the way. Very much looking forward to it. You know him, you love him. He comes on the show, I don't know, once a year. College roommate, teammate, all those things. The great Kyle Brandt from Good Morning Football. Check him out on social media at Kyle Brandt. It's Big Show time.
The Big Show.
Kyle, what is up, man? Thank you so much for the time. I really appreciate it.
What's up, dude? I only come on once a year. It doesn't sound like much. It sounds like maybe you have to chase me down and get me to say yes. I only come on when I'm asked. I always come on. I've never said no. I would never say no to you, but I feel like we should do it more than once a year. Isn't that true?
We probably should do it more than once a year. For whatever reason, we just don't. I don't ever want to bother you. I know what it's like to have. I mean, you have a very busy schedule. You got all these different things you're doing. I know it's tough when people ask you to add on to that during. I live it. I live it on the other side, so I know what it's like.
Our whole lives now are just like a series of asking people if they'll come on your pod and then saying yes or hopefully no when they ask you to come on your pod, on their pod. Don't you spend a lot of time, you get a podcast invitation, you're like, how am I going to get out of this one? Let me see what I texted this person last time to get out of it. I can't use that one again. It's just, that's what we do now. It's where we are, but I don't have any of those excuses for you. It's 7:25 a.m. I'm in my basement right now. We have Good Morning Football in 35 minutes, but let's talk.
I love it. All right. So, dude, this is unbelievable timing, by the way, because I had you down to have you on again at some point soon. But the Bears played last night. Your Bears. That's your team. You grew up in Chicago, diehard Chicago fan, love the Bears. I'm not even asking you a question. The Bears, Kyle, go.
I think the score last night was 6-3. I'm like, there's no way that's true. That's not a real NFL score, a 6-3 score. You know what? You can play that game, dude, if you go back to Detroit, Michigan. And I don't mean when the Bears played the Lions. I mean when the draft happened. And they take Caleb and Adunze in the first round. And you're like, a couple of days after Christmas, you're going to be playing at home on national television or whatever it's called, national media, Amazon. And it's going to be a really close game against the Seahawks. You're like, wow, they're going to go for the NFC North title or the 1 seed, and they're going to lose 6-3. They have all those players you're freaking out about, and Keenan Allen and Cole Kmet, 6-3. And at this point, the best news I have for the Bears fans, there's just one left. It's just one more. Just get through one more. What do you call these? Finish Strong Fridays? It's like a finish strong week 18. Just get through one more, and then this bizarre, terrible, wretched, feces-laden season is over, and we can try to hire a new head coach.
Dude, so there's a lot there. It's eerily reminiscent of our first game sophomore year. That was 6-0 against Cornell in the opening of the new stadium.
All right, so let me just talk about this. This is September of 1998. Princeton University has demolished Palmer Stadium. It was a 200-year-old stadium or something insane like that. One of the oldest stadiums in any sport in the world. They demolish it. For Ross and my entire freshman year, which is the 97 season, we were road warriors, they called it. We went on the road for every single – we had no home stadium. Our first college football season, no home games. So you play those and you're like, but yeah, sophomore year we're going to have this new stadium. It's going to be sick. It's going to be incredible. We come out and they pack the place. I think there were 33,000 people there, which was every single seat in the house. It was an incredible atmosphere for an Ivy League football game. Cornell's there. It's Princeton Cornell. Ross and I are both starters. Ross is starting at guard, and I'm starting at running back. On the first possession, like the actual Princeton students were there. There was like a student section. They were standing the whole time. It was like watching like some SEC game on a Thursday night on ESPN. It was crazy. First possession, we get a few first downs, get a field goal. All right, 3-0. Second possession, get a few first downs, get a field goal. 6-0. We're scoring. We're putting on a show. The final score of the game was 6-0. 6-0. There were like 57 punts. The Princeton students left, and they have not come back. That was 1998. It's currently almost 2025. 27 years ago, they did not come back because we didn't score any touchdowns that day.
Oh, my gosh. You love telling that story. I love
incredible.
Hearing it. By the way, Kyle had over 100 yards, and Kyle was the biggest reason why we won the game, for the record, okay? So he's
well, our
very
defense
humble,
played pretty well.
But he
they
was
shut the team
offense. Unbelievable. All right. I got to take your temperature on two more Bears-related things, at least, right? Just because it's fresh in my mind. Caleb Williams. Again, not a question. Just Caleb Williams. I want to know where you're at right now with him.
Well, I was asked the other day, is this Bears season an F? Like, would you give this season an F? You know, they've lost whatever it is now in a row, 10 in a row. They fired the head coach. Is it an F? And I go, absolutely not. It's not an F because Caleb has it. Like, Caleb is very, very talented. Caleb can make plays. Like, he will find a way to be somewhat successful in this league moving forward. If Caleb was just a disaster and Caleb was, like, throwing fits and, like, causing media issues and locker room rifts and also just didn't seem to have it, then it's an F. As it is now, it's probably a D, maybe even a D minus. But, like, every once in a while, including in that Seahawks game that was just played last night, Caleb makes some ridiculous plays. You're like, dude, he is so talented. And I don't think, like, when Bryce Young had his rookie year, I don't think he did any of that. I don't think there were any real moments where it's like, dude, Bryce Young's going to beast. It was just really depressing from start to finish. So Caleb looks good every once in a while. He had one of the longest streaks in NFL history of not throwing interceptions. Can you imagine, Ross, a 10-game losing streak in which your rookie quarterback has not thrown an interception? It doesn't make sense. One, it speaks to how bad the team is, that they're still losing without the interceptions. But two, it's like, that's a pretty cool thing for Caleb. So line is terrible, you know that. He is completely just getting destroyed every time he drops back. He runs around like a rodeo clown like every 2 seconds. But he is talented and he sort of has it. So I would give this season a D instead of an F.
Yeah, I'm a little bit – I'll be curious to see how it plays out with him. He takes way too many sacks. And some of this end of the game, like the Lions where he tried to change the play when they only had the one timeout left, or even last night when they're letting the play clock go below like 10. Like there's some football intelligence, football IQ things there that I'm a little bit concerned about with him. But I can talk about specifically last night's game a little bit later after we have Kyle. Do you have a preferred head coach candidate, Kyle?
I just want someone offensive, just offense. You know, I mean, Johnson from the Lions I know it's not a creative answer, but that's the guy I've always said. Just give me someone who's young, who seems like they're kind of a jerk a little bit, which I think he does, and just has all kinds of crazy ideas and just wants to play with Caleb like a toy. Everybody says Vrabel, fine. I don't know. Vrabel is so intense and so hard-edged. I don't know if Caleb will jive with that. I just have said this before, though. My prediction, I have a prediction for the Bears head coach, and it'll be weird. I think their coach will be a weird hire. I do not think it'll be one of the 2 or 3 guys that you see listed in all the blogs and here on all the podcasts. They always make these kind of unconventional choices. I mean, even Matt Eberflus was a very, very strange choice, who was the defensive coordinator on like a Colts team that blew the playoffs at the end of the season and felt like he was kind of a linebackers coach, and he was the head coach of the Chicago Bears. Mark Trestman, very, very strange choice. I thought John Fox, like a totally uninspired choice, like a retread on his 3rd team. So my prediction, Ross, is that when they announce the hire, people will be like, huh? I don't think it'll be that one that wins the room. It doesn't mean it'll be bad. I just think it won't be normal.
That's such an interesting history there. You're right. Now that you think about it, it's like, yeah, Eberflus was the D coordinator for the Colts, and Trestman, I don't know who was on
Ross, they hired a CFL coach. Like, Mark Trestman was coaching the CFL. And not to be like some cool coordinator who's got brilliant new ideas, like to be the head coach of the Bears. They hired a CFL coach, and this is still like, they had Cutler, they had a quarterback, they had weapons, like they had something there. It's still so bizarre. Really, really strange. So don't expect it's like, well, Belichick's out. They're not going to promote Thomas Brown. It's not just going to be Ben Johnson or Mike Vrabel. I bet you it'll be like the third curtain and everyone will scratch their heads.
You know what I think's crazy too? And this is the last Bears-related thing. When you were 6 years old, okay, the Bears were maybe the best team we've ever seen, and they won the Super Bowl. You were 6 years old. It was probably your first or second year, really being into it, your dad, the whole deal. It's been all downhill since then. Like, it's kind of sad. Your fandom peaked at 6 years old, and they've never really gotten close to that since then. I don't know. Like, that feels sad to me.
Well, it's a good point. And this is what I bring up, is that when you fall in love with the team at 6 years old, and think about this, not only was I 6 years old, but my birthday was like right around the Super Bowl. So I remember being at my grandparents' house and celebrating my birthday on Super Bowl Sunday for the Bears versus Patriots, which is technically in January of '86. Think about that. It wasn't just the Super Bowl team and one of the all-time great teams. I used to listen to the Super Bowl Shuffle cassette tape. Like, that was the hottest thing you could listen to. It was Refrigerator Perry. It was Walter Payton. I had the Refrigerator Perry G.I. Joe figure. It was a magical time for a kid. But here's the funny thing, dude. I'm living in New York now, as you know. Calvin, my 11-year-old, for some reason that I don't know, I don't know how this happened, has become a huge Steelers fan. He loves the Steelers, never been to Pittsburgh, never been within 100 miles of Pittsburgh. He just watched T.J. Watt play one day, and he's like, I'm in. I want to be a Steelers fan. And I'm like, God bless you, son. Be a Steelers fan. Grow up Steelers. I'm not trying to talk him into the Bears. I'm not trying to talk about one of these terrible regional teams we have here in New York. I'm like, this is great. I feel like you kind of have a football fan trust fund if you're the Steelers fan. Like, they'll always matter. They'll always be great. So I'm raising him a Steelers fan on his own accord, and I'm not trying anything to dissuade him.
I love that.
Yeah, it's cool,
I
right?
love that he organically picked it. And by the way, for the listeners, not that this matters, he's 11 years old, but if you could buy stock in an 11-year-old, Calvin Brandt would be the guy to buy it. I'm not joking. First of all, he's like beautiful. He's like a great-looking kid. He's off the charts smart. He's a head taller than anybody his age. He's like if Kyle and I could have made a son in a computer lab, it would be Kyle's son, Calvin Brandt.
Well, the funniest part is I'll send Ross a picture and I'll be like, oh, look at Calvin, look what he did, and he's such a nice kid, and he's got this clothes on, and what a nice boy. And Ross just be like, dude, he's huge. And I'm like, I know he's tall. Like, it's not all about the size, Ross, but it is for Ross. And he is very tall. I don't know why. I'm 5'11", but my son's very tall. So he'll show up on one of those Go Big sites at some point. He hasn't even put pads on yet, but he loves the Steelers.
You know what? What's it like for you? I mean, I guess I feel like, Kyle, there's probably a reason why God didn't give me a son like that. Because now that he's like 11, like any day when we went to bed, if like he didn't do push-ups or like body weight squats that day, I think it would like, I'd be okay with it. You know, he's my son. I love him. But I'm not kidding. Like, I think it would eat away at me a little bit. Like, he had an opportunity to get better today. He's got these special genetic gifts. Like, how do you balance, like, you're a competitive guy. Like, you'd love to see him do well at sports, but you're just his dad and you love him and the whole deal.
Well, here's what kills me, and you'll get this. So he's very, very, very large, and he plays only flag football. So no pads, and we'll get to that, but he's just not playing right now. So in flag football, like it's about elusiveness and quickness and all that. So several times this year, he has gotten whistled at by the referee for pushing in flag football. And I know, Russ, and the other coach has been like, hey, 19's pushing. And I'll come over and I'll be like, Calvin, did you push? He goes, yeah. And I go, remember, bud, you're not supposed to do that. And he's like, but I'm bigger than them. Like, I want to push them. And I'm like, just go. I can't even tell him not to because I'm so happy that he's pushing the kids around. Like, not maliciously, but like he pushes the kids. He blocks. Like when he's blocking is not allowed. And so that's absolutely the dream come true for me, and I know for you. So I can't tell him not to push. Just go ahead. I'd rather you get a penalty than not push.
So I know Kyle, like, is a very good-looking guy or whatever, and you might not realize this, audience, okay? Very physical football player. Like, I would say like a power running back more than a speed guy. Like, he ran through tackles, broke tackles, good blocker like in pass pro. Like, you greatly enjoyed and embraced the physical aspect of playing football, and then yet in spring ball he would go do a play like at night because he had acting aspirations. But there's one thing I love about you, like you weren't just like a fancy skill guy. Like you like to get down and dirty.
I think most of what happens to us as athletes, and sometimes even adults, comes from our high school football coach. I think high school football coaches, I hope they still are, but I know they were in the 90s, some of the most important pivotal people you will ever come across in your life. My head football coach was, all he cared about was running north and south. Don't dance, don't dance, don't. He would use a lot of phrases I can't use on the pod, but like north and south. So when Ross and I were playing together back in the 90s, they put in a zone run scheme because it was really popular at the time, and Terrell Davis was crushing it with the Broncos and what they did under Shanahan. I was not good at it. It was hard. It was like a hesitation and like find the hole and then jump cut, all that stuff. But then eventually, Ross, you'll remember, like late in our junior year especially, we just started running lead and power like nonstop. That was like our base offense, and that's like where I was really good at because there's no reading, there's no hesitation, just like good old-fashioned hit the hole like as hard as you can, and then next thing you know, you're at the safety. That's what I was good at, and I think also that's what you like blocking for too.
Absolutely, no question. I did, and it is very. I mean, that's a rabbit hole. We had 3 offensive linemen go to the NFL, and we had a blocking scheme that probably was not the best idea for having like 300-pound guys that could just mash like. And the other 2 guys were pretty good too. I mean, it's just like,
well, geez,
whatever.
I always love when that comes up because people are like, "Oh, how were you in college? Like, did you guys win a lot?" And I was like, "No." They're like, "How are you personally?" I was like, "Nah, it's fine." And they're like, "Did you have a good line?" And I was like, "Yeah, pretty good." I'm like, "Did you guys have anybody who went to the pros?" And I was like, "Yeah, 3 offensive linemen on the same time of a 3-7 football team." And you're the running back, and you had 3 NFL linemen in an Ivy League team. And I was like, you must have really gone crazy. I'm like, no, I actually didn't. Like, oh, all right, do the math.
By the way, just side note, I was at my sister's on Christmas Eve, the day before I did Steelers Chiefs on radio, and I have no idea how your name came up, but my sister somehow they were talking about NFL Network or Good Morning Football, and my sister referenced to somebody that, you know, you were like one of my best friends and college roommates and teammates and all those things, and either they or their wife, you are their hall pass. you are this person's.
All right, well, hold on. What's her Instagram? Give me her Instagram handle. Let's go.
What's that?
Give me the Instagram handle. I want to look. What do we got?
Hey, dude, you're right. I should get you on more than this. You got to get ready for your show. I mean, 18 minutes. I think I asked you. I had like all these questions. We ended up getting into the Bears and Princeton football and your son. But that's a good interview. You know?
The Bears suck. Princeton football in the late 90s, very popular topic, and my son is tall. It's the best pod appearance I've had in 2024.
Hey, love you, buddy. Thanks so much for the time. Really appreciate it.
Later, man. See you.
We got an awesome week to drink some Smirnoff cocktails and enjoy football. How about Christmas Eve? Christmas, we got 2 games, including the game I'm calling. Thursday night, Saturday, Sunday. Guess what? Smirnoff and the NFL are with you every step of the way. Smirnoff is the world's #1 vodka. Plus, they are an official vodka partner of the NFL. This holiday season, when you're enjoying the game and your cocktails, please make sure to drink responsibly. Take a minute, make a plan, never drive impaired. Please drink responsibly. Smirnoff #21 vodka, distilled from grain, 40% alcohol by volume. The Smirnoff Company, New York, New York. Please do not share with anyone under legal drinking age. Smirnoff, we do game days.
Tuck's Takes.
All right, Ross. So there was a game last night. You guys mentioned it earlier. It was the lowest scoring game of the year. 6-3 Seahawks over the Bears.
Yeah, I think Kyle kind of covered it on some level, but I do like to give you guys my thoughts on the game. The Thursday Night Football recap is presented by Labatt Blue Light. Please drink some of those delicious Labatt Blue Lights this weekend, maybe tonight, on Friday night, maybe tomorrow, while you're watching me do the Patriots and the Chargers. Cannot wait. So fired up. 1 p.m. NFL Network. Reminder to take a screenshot right at the start of the game. Right at 1 p.m. when I'm on your TV on NFL Network or whatever. Screenshot, tag me on social, at Ross Tucker NFL. I love it. Always enjoy responsibly. It is absolutely delicious beer made by Labatt USA in Buffalo, New York. As for the game, boy, where do you even start, right? I mean, I guess the things that you need to know are that the Seahawks put Kenneth Walker on IR, so he's done now. They're running back. But they still ran the ball very effectively early with Charbonnet, who I like. I like Charbonnet. They ran it effectively early. I don't know why they got away from it. I don't understand that. Didn't understand it. The passing game was not clicking. Geno Smith has kind of been up and down, inconsistent. I will give the Bears defense some credit because they came to play. And so I appreciate teams that are out of it, this crazy long losing streak, and yet they still come to play like that. DK Metcalf got a couple penalties. I think his frustration level is high, especially with Smith and Jigba kind of being the go-to guy now. Caleb Williams, Kyle referenced it. He made a couple sweet plays, but, man, he continues to take sacks he shouldn't. And I'm not saying the O-line's great or whatever, but he should not be taking all of these sacks. He finally throws that interception late in the game, his first interception in 10 games. The Bears just, their coaching, the clock management, whether it's coaching or Caleb Williams, all of that, it's got to be painful if you're a Bears fan. I think Kyle properly expressed that. The right person to have on as the guest today, that's for sure.
Couple quarterback notes. The Lions, they bring back high school state champion Teddy Bridgewater, and the Eagles, they're bringing back quarterback Ian Book.
Right, so the Eagles bringing back Ian Book, that really makes you think that, Jalen Hurts will not be available for this game. I mean, I said this on the Ross Report, which I post on social media, talking about the Eagles because of all the stuff I do for them. Kenny Pickett sounds like a guy who knows he's starting at quarterback in this game. He says, I'm ready. I'm looking for the opportunity. It does not sound like Jalen Hurts will be playing Sunday for the Eagles. Maybe he will, but it doesn't sound like it so far. So the Eagles bring in Ian Book just for, security purposes. Tanner McKee will be the backup. Tanner McKee's actually good in those preseason games. The Bridgewater thing, I think that the Lions wanted to make sure they had a veteran guy for the playoffs. They say it's no knock on Hendon Hooker, but I think they just felt like if Goff gets hurt in a playoff game, they feel better about, Teddy Bridgewater coming in and being able to handle that situation than Hendon Hooker getting his first playing time in that situation. That would be tough. I said this on social media, but just a little, inside baseball, if you will, Jack. The Lions have 2 more regular season games, and then they have at least 1 playoff game. So Teddy Bridgewater will be on the roster for 3 games. That is huge. That counts as a whole extra year for all the benefits you get as an NFL player, right? Your 401k, your severance, your pension, your annuity, your health savings account, your health insurance. I mean, it's probably, at this stage for him, it's probably like $1 million just being on the roster for 3 games, the benefits and the value of that.
Dolphins, they released edge rusher Shaq Barrett from the reserved retired list so he can sign with a contender should he clear the waivers.
So something's really weird because, they do this, but you have to still clear waivers, which I guess makes some sense because if the guy was just a free agent right away and could sign with any team, that's kind of not fair to the other teams on some level. So if you think that Shaq Barrett might sign with your competition, and that could hurt you. Somebody could claim him on waivers. I don't think they will do that. I think he'll clear waivers. I think he'll be a free agent, and I think he'll sign with a contender that he can give 10 to 15 pass rushes to per game.
And Cowboys wide receiver CeeDee Lamb, he's being shut down for the season with a shoulder injury.
Right. I mentioned that on the Ross Report this morning on social media already as well. At Ross Tucker NFL, by the way. CeeDee Lamb, that's obviously huge. He's by far the Cowboys' biggest offensive weapon. That will really hurt them against the Eagles on Sunday. Cooper Rush going to have to find somebody else. He's not going to be able to find CeeDee Lamb. I did remember to pick the winners this week, Jack. Hallelujah. The guy that spread the word via social media. How about Nick Luke? He emailed the Amazon Music Wrap, and he posted it to his Instagram story. I love it, Nick. Nathan Roberts used the Game Time app, code Ross, to get tickets to Les Mis in Minneapolis. And then the YouTube shout-out, youtube.com/Ross Tucker NFL, goes to Gary Valor. He made a comment on YouTube. So I remembered, we've got winners. You're all winners. Finish the workday strong, even though none of you are working. And hopefully everybody enjoyed the picks earlier in the week. I think we're done here.
Thanks for tuning in to the Ross Tucker Football Podcast. Make sure to also check out Even Money, Fantasy Feast, and College Draft, all on the DraftKings Network on Samsung TV Plus, YouTube, or subscribe to the podcast on your favorite platform.
Shout out myfrontpagestory.com. Hey, why don't you get the jump on Valentine's Day? Why don't you order it now while it's still fresh in your mind? Okay, maybe you didn't do as good of a job for Christmas as you wanted to. Get the job done for Valentine's Day. myfrontpagestory.com, backofficescheduler.com, humanheadnyc.com, Sporticulture, Pizza Boy Brewing.